all the build-up and reaction to Rangers in the Europa League on Independence Live.
Here we go then. Final score. Rangers European dream is over for another year. Final score of Atletico Bilbao 2, Rangers 0. That means obviously Atletico Bilbao won 2-0 on aggregate and Rangers are out of Europe. But they did so well to get there. And obviously we were saying in the pre-show that on these big occasions, you want everything to go right for Rangers. Sadly, it never, because they had again a couple of injuries to contend with, and we'll get into them as well. Get your comment coming in right here until 11 o'clock. Joined by Alex from the Dugout podcast to look back at the 90 minutes. Alex, what's your reaction to that game tonight? Disappointed?
Yeah, a bit disappointed, a bit gutted. Obviously, would have loved to see Rangers go through. But I think on the night the better team won. Obviously, that penalty in the first half that they got, it was a Stonewall penalty. John Suter making the mistake. And then in the second half, it was a nicely worked goal for 2-0. And I thought the better team who deserved it went through in the end.
Yeah, no, James Elliott is watching the show on YouTube. Thanks for watching. James, he says, to be honest, I guess sneaky suspicion that Rangers might have got through tonight as well. But well, obviously they never as well. But yeah, I don't know where to start with that game, Alex. I mean, like everything that went, everything. You were saying that keep 11 players on the park. What they did, but they get a couple of injuries as well. So that
Yeah.
kind of didn't help Marcus. And I suppose you must give credit to the Rangers fans. But before we dive into the game, Alex, I mean, that was a brilliant atmosphere tonight.
Yeah, it was. It was a fantastic atmosphere. I saw a couple of Celtic tops in the crowd as well. Obviously they've got that connection. But it was fantastic atmosphere. The Bilbao fans really got behind their side, and some stadium as well, a beautiful stadium. Maybe they'll be back there for the final.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had to believe in Roddy was saying in commentary the 50,000. I mean, I don't know about you, but it seemed like more to me tonight. Maybe because it was so noisy in that stadium as well. Robbie is watching the show tonight. He said, "Hi guys, sorry I can't be on the show. Disappointing tonight for Rangers, but I agree with Alex. The better team won tonight as well." Let's get into it then, Alex. I mean, Rangers. Shiggy got a penalty at the beginning of the game. Dessers was right through and goal, and how can the ref not see the penalty? I mean, that it was evident that half of Dessers, what you would say, midriff, was ripped, but he never gave a penalty.
No, my initial reaction to it is it wasn't a penalty and he went down a bit easy. And then I saw the shirt and I was like, what? And then I watched the replay. He's just grabbed him round and pulled him, preventing him from perhaps getting in to get onto the ball to even get a shot on goal or even score. I think it was a stonewall penalty, and I think it's a shocking decision. From the ref and from VAR, the fact they didn't even send them to the screen either to have a look at it. You know, I just think it is, yeah, it's poor refereeing, and you never know if Rangers had got that penalty and scored it. The complexion of the game of the whole night might have changed. However, that's not the way it went, and it was still 0-0 at that point, and it was down to Rangers, and they didn't get the job done. But big moments like that in European quarterfinals, the refs need to get it right, and I think the ref got it wrong.
Right, I had a wee bet to myself watching the game, and I thought you might have said that but, at the beginning of the show. Obviously, 2-0 to Bilbao and all that, but it's kind of like ifs, buts, and maybes, isn't it? Like when you see that, and I suppose you're right as well that if Liverpool got the penalty, and listen, it didn't mean to say that they're going to score that penalty, but obviously give Dessers the opportunity to actually take the penalty as well. But am I right in saying that it wasn't even checked in VAR? Is that right?
I don't know. I think they must have had a look at it, but it wasn't very extensive because they were on with the play quite quickly. I think they check everything in the VAR, but they didn't, they didn't direct the ref to the screen to even have a second look at it, or they must have thought it wasn't a clear and obvious error. But I think even if he just the fact that his shirt has been ripped, I feel like is something the ref needs to look at it, even if he didn't think initially the contact was enough.
Yeah, yeah, it just kind of like baffles me. I guess isn't, and we watch Scottish football every week, and it baffles us every week. But when you see that this isn't like that level of football, and you're thinking, well, that's like the second highest European competition, and they're making kind of like basic mistakes.
Yeah, it's mad. Obviously, everyone's human, but I just see if the ref had, see if VAR had looked at it and directed them to the screen, and the ref had stuck to his guns and went, "I don't think that's enough contact." I still would have been probably upset with it, but it's just the fact that the check was over so quickly. It feels like they brushed over it, and that was frustrating. It doesn't take away from the rest of the night and how Bilbao controlled the game, and Rangers couldn't really get out there. A couple of kind of half chances, and Bilbao, like I've said earlier, they deserved to win. However, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to get over that decision easily.
Robbie said that it's because Regan Tavernier's comments after the game, and basically that he wants Barry Ferguson to be manager next season. So we'll see about that. I know that we were asking you about that before the game, and you basically said no as well. But I think it would be good for Barry Ferguson's CV as well. Get to a quarter final of a major European competition and beating Celtic at Parkhead, and maybe having another chance of beating them in a few weeks when they come to Ibrox.
Yeah. I think it would be good for his CV, maybe if he's looking to get the Rangers job or go into another managerial job. I think he's certainly above. He's proven he's above the level of Alloa and Kelly Hearts, the teams he's managed in the past. But it would be good for him. But if Tavernier is saying he'd love him next season, I think Robbie said it maybe has shown the impact he's had on the players, and maybe I still wouldn't want him in the job next season, but maybe with the new owners and the backing and a summer to get his squad together, maybe sign a couple of players. You never know what could happen.
I mean, he's been about Rangers for years, been a brilliant captain, but also was he not an ambassador of Rangers as well? So he was basically inside Guy Brooks every week when Phil Clement was the manager. Anthony on YouTube, Anthony Green on YouTube. I don't know what team you support with that name. He's basically saying that it's not a penalty. Well, to be honest with you, I think me and Alex said that the penalty was a bit soft, but I mean, if you pull somebody's jersey and you could see maybe his this as this maybe seventh pack, there's gig a 6-pack. It must be a penalty, and also I had to laugh the ref, Alex. I don't know if you saw him tell him to get off to change it, and obviously Dessus was a bit annoyed at that.
Yeah, and then he told him to get off to change it, and then he wouldn't let him. I don't know if that's a rule. He wouldn't let him back on, and he had to call him back on. I thought that was only if you go down during a phase of play or something. But and someone comes on to treat you, and then Dessers gets booked for his arguments. But yeah, I didn't think the ref was great tonight. Overall it was an okay performance, but I just thought in moments he was making some silly decisions.
It's funny, Alex. I don't know if you watched the Arsenal game last night, and it was one decision in the second half. I can't remember. I think it was for the Arsenal penalty or whatever. And Alan McCoy was saying, and the commentator was saying, "Wow, it's taken ages to make that decision in VAR." And I'm thinking, well,
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, Klein come to Scottish football and saying that because it takes a week to work out who shy it is and all that, So
Yeah, it was. I think it was the pull on Kylian Mbappe from Declan Rice. The ref gave a penalty on the pitch, and it took them over 5 minutes to VAR, and then they called the ref over, and the ref looked at it for a bit, and then decided it wasn't a penalty. I thought that one was similar to the Dessers one. I think the differentiating factor is that the Bilbao boy does have a handful of his jersey. But yeah, I think it is quite funny that we're complaining about the length of the decision. And yeah, we're dealing with the refs in Scotland. Zooming in on lines to see if the ball's going out of play when I actually don't think that's within the powers of VAR. And they did it. And a bit of audio from the League Cup final when Cherny gets brought down by Liam Scales. I think the exact words the VAR referee said was, "He's more out the box than in." If he's in the box, he's in the box. You know what I mean? So
okay.
Yeah. So we do deal with some poor referees up here in Scotland.
I mean, obviously, you would say that Rangers' season's over, obviously, because they can't win the Cups, and this was Rangers' final chance to at least make it into a semi-final as well. And we were talking about on the pre-show about Rangers. Do you think Rangers will get Man United in the semi-final? But obviously, Barry Ferguson would have been saying to his players, look, just focus on tonight's game, never mind all the other talk, like supporters and media and us in the show and all the rest of it can speculate, but obviously Rangers' job was to do their business on the park and the field. I think that would you say that it's good experience for these kind of players to play at that kind of level and that kind of atmosphere?
Well, yeah, I think so. You look well, for example, Clinton Enciala making his European debut. I thought he was quite good. I thought he was one of the shining lights for Rangers tonight, and a half decent second half. A better performance in the first half, certainly. It's good experience for Connor Barron. It's that people still got to remember he's still only 22. Jefty's 21. I don't think Jefty was great tonight. However, but yeah, it's a learning experience for these young players, and playing against players of the level of the Bilbao squad, it can only benefit them, and see what else is out there, instead of playing in front of a low block every week. So.
And I suppose as well that it was a game. It was a first half with a tale of two halves. You would say Rangers had a penalty and right that end of the first half, Bilbao had a penalty there. I don't think you had an issue with that.
No, it was a penalty all day, and yeah, it was a bit of a gut punch because although Rangers had been backs to the wall, they defended really well, and it was a nice penalty from Sunset sending Kelly the wrong way, and then you go into the half 1-0 down at such a crucial moment. You're not feeling great for the second half. However, despite being forced into another change, Rangers had to switch to a back four on Balogun. Going down looked like maybe a cheekbone injury. He was raging to be coming off, but obviously the medical team have went, sorry mate, you need to come off. And Rangers switched to the 4, but they started to get out a bit more. But I just think that goal before, and then the other goal comes at a really gut punch kind of time as well. It was a nicely worked goal, good header to have just dropping him at the back post. But I think Rangers, they couldn't get out properly, and they lacked a bit of sharpness in their passing and getting to second balls. Cyril Dessers was doing my nutting because we kept playing balls along the ground to him to hold it up, and he could never get in front of the defender. He was always like stretching instead of moving. Czerny never really got into it. He was isolated a lot of the time. He was getting doubled up on. They obviously have identified him as a threat. I thought Diomande was very good in attacking and defending, getting back and try to turn the ball over, moving it in the midfield. Raskin was decent again. Obviously had that big chance that was saved onto the post. But yeah, it's sort of another sliding doors moment. But yeah, just not good enough. I don't think Rangers controlled the ball as much as they should have. They didn't hold on to it for long enough periods and couldn't really get a foothold in the game. And Bilbao's defenders were just eating up everything that came forward.
When you're going back to the Bilbao penalty just before half time, that was a kick in the teeth, basically, or kick on something else. Right on half time, Alex, and that if they score that, well, obviously they would have the upper hand going on at half time. I mean, how many times have you saw it in a game of football where a team scores a penalty off open play and they get a wee bounce going on to half time, and Bilbao started the second half well, I thought, so
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think they were getting a bit frustrated. They were giving away some silly fouls, and I was thinking, we're slowly creeping our way into this. And yeah, I think the penalty definitely gives them a bounce. And yet, like you said, they start the second half fast, and that's what actually leads to head knock, them working the ball, getting the ball into the box, Suter and Balogun both going for it and clashing, and I totally agree with what you said. The penalty does give them a bounce.
And it's not been confirmed yet from Barry Ferguson, but I presume that Balogun's season's over. Gives me 6 weeks to go.
Yeah, if it's a head knock or a cheekbone or a fracture or something, I'd assume so, unless he gets one of the cool masks. I'd assume so. I think I don't know if this was confirmed, but I thought it was a bit strange that Hadji came off at half time. But might have been because he took that shot to the kidneys, and he was down for a wee bit. He continued on, but I'm wondering if maybe another issue's come up for him and he's been forced off. Yilmaz coming off injured, so a lot, like you said, everything went wrong for Rangers tonight. But I'll keep saying it. Take nothing away from Bilbao; they deserved it.
And there was one man you would want to leave on the park, obviously, up to his injury, Hadji, because you saw on Sunday scored a brilliant goal, but I mean he's a threat as well,
Yeah, a big threat, and I thought he was the main outlet for Rangers because he's I don't know if he's been doing a lot of strength coaching or whatever, but the way he was holding up the ball and spinning players, just using his body. There was one, I think it was when he won the free kick in the first few minutes or so, and he looks like he's losing it. He gets the ball in front, spins, and the defender brings him down, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of strength. And you saw it in the first leg as well, him just showing, getting his body in front, holding the ball up and muscling players off the ball. So yeah, I definitely think it must have been something to do with an injury, because I think he was one of Rangers' main outlets for getting out in that first half.
And then obviously before we speak about the goal, it basically killed the game, killed the tie, Williams. And I don't know about you, Alex, but I don't think it would suit his hairdo. I was looking at it and I was thinking, well, no, it wouldn't suit me, that hairdo, but I would get it if I get paid millions of pounds a week, right enough. But I mean, Rangers had a few chances, like Raskin had a chance and Cherny shot as well. I think that was the only shot of note from a Rangers point of view in that second half before Williams got the all important goal.
Yeah, I'd say so. There was a couple of crosses into the box from Rangers. They were getting down the lines a bit more. Cherny was getting a bit more chances, but yeah, those were the only real shots, I would say. Before, like you said, before Williams got that goal. Out on the right hand side, DeMarcos linking up, I think, with Berenguer, and it's a really good ball. Tav just drops Williams, and it's a bullet header. One of the really awkward ones for keepers when they're right, it's right above you. Obviously, you're trying to spread yourself to try and save it if it's going either way, but it's right above his head, and he can't get. Liam Kelly. I'm giving a demonstration here, but Liam Kelly can't.
I thought you were doing the YMCA there.
Yeah, yeah, but Liam Kelly obviously can't get his arms up quick enough, and that kills the game off. I was watching it with my dad and my brother, and I just went and came over. And that was that. Obviously, Agaman had that chance towards the end, but my brother said something that really, I thought, was a good way to put it. It's the shot. He just drags it wide, and then it's kind of. And then my brother just goes, "That sums up the night," and I was like, "Yeah, you're exactly right." But disappointing. But what can you do?
I suppose, going back to the penalty incident, I think it was Suter. I get caught short for the penalty, and but it just shows you that at that level, okay. I mean, no disrespect, but you can maybe get away with doing, again, Ross County, St Johnson's in this world, but when you come up against the big boys in Europe, it's a different ball game.
Yeah, definitely. You need to maintain that concentration, and I think in moments they didn't, and that was the undoing in the end.
What do you think that the Rangers fans will be? Obviously, they'll be feeling hurt at the moment, going over the numbers as well. But what do you think Ferguson will be saying to the team? Obviously, it's a different story. I know we touched upon the Dessers penalty incident as well, and maybe if Rangers didn't have about 3 players going off injured, we could be talking about a different game. I don't know, but
Maybe.
yeah, maybe. But what do you think Ferguson will be saying to his team tonight on the way home?
I think he'll obviously. I think tonight will be a moment of, look back at what you've done, and then the next day at the training ground or whatever, they'll break down the game and he'll pick out the moments where he thinks it went wrong. But I think tonight, for me anyway, it was just a bit of appreciation. It's strange. It's strange. Rangers have had such a poor season domestically, but we've got to the point in Europe where we're disappointed when they go out in a quarter final. So I think that's a testament to the European form over the years, and these players this season. They've had a tough season. A lot of that their own doing. A lot of that the former manager. But yeah, I don't think you can fault them for effort in any capacity. So yeah, I think tonight will be a night of disappointment, being gutted, but also trying to reflect on another decent European campaign.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, another decent campaign for Rangers because I mean, they just got to the final a few years ago before lockdown, and obviously a decent run tonight in Europe, and nearly yet so far and all that, but yeah, it was good by Rangers tonight, and they did well over the years in European football, even though now you would never want to say to you or any Rangers fan that, but when you look back at the end of the season or tomorrow in the European campaign, you would say, yeah, but we done okay. And adding to that as well, you've got to remember that you've not got a manager, everything off the park as well. So you've got to kind of add the bits up as well, Alex.
Yeah, definitely. If you just look at it as a whole, with everything, taking everything else into account that's happened, maybe you can look at it in somewhat positive light and look at the moments that they've given us this season and in the European competitions. The away win to Fenerbahce, scraping into the top 8 in the last day of the league phase, and going toe to toe with Tottenham and Man United. I think they've lost two games in the league phase to Man United and Lyon, who are, I think Lyon are actually leading Man United in extra time right now, and then losing to Fenerbahce at home and then going through on penalties. I was there that night as well. It was nerve wracking, but it was fantastic. And yeah, it's been another good European journey. And my dad always says this to me: don't take it for granted, because back in the 90s when Rangers had a really good team, they were never doing stuff like this in Europe. Like even when they had the likes of Laudrup and McCoist back then, and fantastic players. They were never progressing like this in European competition. So my dad's been saying it for a good while now, because Rangers always seem to do well in Europe. But he's been saying don't take it for granted, because he says I enjoy every minute of it, because this wasn't the norm when he back in the day in the 90s when he was watching Rangers. So.
One player that I wanted to ask you about in the pre-show, Alex, was Ross McCausland. I think that he, again, obviously gets sent off on Sunday, but it was a sub-teammate as well. I don't know, maybe he's a frustrated figure, because I remember doing a show a few years ago, a European game, and he scored a goal, and the next day or something, he gets signed up in a long-term deal at Rangers. I can't remember the game it was. It was the Europa Cup game, and so everybody was building him up. The media, obviously Ranger fans as well, but it's not really had a kind of first team start at Rangers. I don't know. I don't know if he's kind of like frustrated or whatever, because he doesn't seem to be getting a lot of game time.
I think a lot of that has been down to his recent performances. He obviously broke onto the scene, young player coming through, and he was good. He was kind of electric, but now this might be a bit harsh, but I think he's sort of devolved into sort of a Scott Wright figure. You know what I mean? Decent, good on his day, but he's not good. He's pretty rubbish actually most of the time, and it's a shame. It's a shame because Ross McCausland, we thought he was the next one to come through, perhaps, and make an impact. Maybe get a wee fee for him at the end of it, but it's just not happened for him. And to be perfectly honest, I think his time at Rangers maybe coming to an end. You know, because he's just a name on to fill the squad right now. I think no Rangers fan would you know, like would rely on him to come on and make an impact. So yeah, it's quite sad actually, because no one wanted him, no one wants him to fail, but it just seems to have gone that way. So maybe, I don't know, maybe a loan spell, maybe he leaves, maybe he goes to another Premiership club or tries his luck in another country, maybe down south somewhere, or maybe he tries his luck abroad. But at this present moment in time, I don't see a future at Rangers for Ross McCausland in terms of making impact and starting. However, you know, you never know in football, things can change so quickly.
Would you agree that when the new owners come in, obviously they're not signing the dotted line yet, but when they come in, would you agree that the second thing they would have to do is sign Cherny up? Because every time I watch Rangers, even against Celtic the other week, and okay, he's been scoring goals for fun up to a point, but you know, he had a few chances tonight as well, and I think he's one of Rangers' danger man.
Yeah, I'd say get him if you can afford it. We don't want to get into that scenario again, but if you can afford it, get him, because yeah, he's electric. He can change games. I think he struggled a bit tonight because he was isolated and he was trying to do a lot by himself. You know, and he's not Leo Messi. He can't dance through the whole Bilbao team, you know, just like Messi did all those years ago. But yeah, get him signed on the dotted line, because we've, you know, for years, I think Rangers have had a bit of a winger crisis. It was always one side that was lacking. Right now, I'd say it's the left wing, and if we don't sign up Czerny, we'll be looking to sign a different guy, and you don't know how that's going to work. Before, Ryan Kent was the guy, and now I feel like Czerny has to be the guy that they bring in the door, because he's been excellent this season. I think he has been Rangers' best player.
Obviously, we spoke about Cyril Dessers, the penalty that wasn't a penalty, even though his shirt was ripped to his legs. You would say that he was involved in the fight up in Sakiowski when you saw part of a slip out. But like we were talking to Andy a few weeks ago after the Rangers game, and I was asking his opinion about Cyril Dessers and he says he's one of these players. He's a kind of like an enigma, basically because he misses far easier chances and the scores chances that you don't expect. I mean, I'm thinking about the goal that he scored against Man United, and the goal he scored against, was it Dundee United this season as well. So I don't know. I mean, different fans have got different opinions about Dessers, but where do you stand on that?
He's a confusing one for me as well. You know, because he frustrates the hell out of you. He frustrated me tonight with his lack of, you know, trying to get in front of the defenders. But I think if you look at his goal record, you can't really deny that he scores goals. I think he's just got over 100 appearances for Rangers and he's maybe 45, 46 goals. So I think it's a... yeah, I think he'll be one that will be there next season, leading the line, and I think Rangers should keep him for the time being. But yeah, he's definitely one that confuses me as well and frustrates me at times. But by all accounts as well, you know, he's a good guy and he does work hard. I think he's just got certain tendencies that, you know, and he's not going to change either. He's 31, I think, so he's not a young player who can develop new habits, you know. So what you see is what you get with Cyril Dessers. So, but yeah, I think Rangers should definitely keep him, and yeah, but still confuses me.
Are you surprised as well that I know I'm picking out one or two Rangers players here, but just asking your opinion. Igamani, you mentioned him early on again. It was a sub tonight, but are you surprised that he's not had a lot of game time under Ferguson? Because I mean, I was saying about Czerny early on. Igamani scored some important goals this season in the earlier half of the season for Rangers. So, are you surprised that he's not been getting a lot of game time since Ferguson's come in?
Yes and no. He did go through a sort of barren spell. I think Barry Ferguson mentioned that in an interview that he's a great technical player, but he's got other things that he can work on, and they're trying to work on that with him. I think Ferguson has been very careful with the way he's managed a lot of the young players as well when he's come in, trying to sort of maybe break them in a bit more rather than throw them right in the firing line. Hamza Agaman, yeah, sometimes he looks unplayable, sometimes you think maybe, but I think he's definitely one. If he's still here next season, there's rumours surrounding him with the likes of Marseille and Bayer Leverkusen. I saw were interested in him. Everton still interested in him. So if he's still here next season, I think he will see a lot of game time because he's definitely shown he can score goals. He can create for himself. You know, he's quite silky. He's got a bit of flair about him. You know, you saw that I think at Ibrox against Tottenham when he was squaring up Pedro Porro and he just flicks it up in the air and brings it down, and in front of him, and all the fans are on way. But it's I would say I'm a bit surprised that he's maybe not started as many games, but I think Barry Ferguson's trying to manage him. But next season I think we will see more of Hamza Agaman.
I mean, I know we look back at the English season about speak about Barry Ferguson's and Neil McCann and Alan McGregor, Billy Dawes tenure at Rangers, but I suppose we could maybe look back now, because any Rangers any decent Rangers fan would say, well, that's the season over. This was the last chance to win any silverware, or maybe get into the running for the Europa Cup. So how do you think Barry Ferguson and his backroom team has gigged, even though I think they went into the job with about 15 games left? Am I right in saying that? Or
Yeah, I'd say it's a mixed bag for them. They've definitely shown some good moments. I've mentioned Fenerbahce away quite a few times. Celtic at Celtic Park, I think you mentioned, was a good performance. But it's just the games that the run of the mill, the bread and butter stuff that you need. But there's been a problem all team for this season, so all season for this team. Getting my words mixed up there, but yeah, it's going up against the likes of Motherwell, Hibs. It's been a problem this season, so I don't think you can lay that at the current coaching team's doorstep. So I'd say they've done okay, better than most expected. They expected Fenerbahce to pump them out, and then expected Celtic to pump them as well. A lot of the Celtic fans, and looking forward to a walkover, but it didn't happen. So yeah, overall it's been okay. It's not been perfect because we're still losing to the other sides in the league. The Rangers are expected to beat every single week, but yeah, it's been all right.
I suppose that the other thing you would back that up by saying, Alex, is that this is not a Ferguson team. Because he came in and the window was shut. So he had to. It's a bit like a game of cards. You had to be dealt with the hand that has given you, basically. But obviously, Barry Ferguson choked and bottled, because in day one he says, "Look, I may not be the full team manager, but I'm the manager of this team until the end of the season. So this is my this is my season, but so this is my team, but like I don't think I think the damage was well done before Ferguson came in.
Yeah, definitely. He's inherited a mess. I think he's done the best with the tools that he currently has. I know we're talking about Rangers and stuff here, but I've just seen this. I think this game, it just ended. So Man United and Lyon went extra time, and Corentin Tolisso got sent off just before the final whistle. So Lyon were down to 10 in extra time. But then Lyon went 3-2 up in extra time, and then 4-2 up in the 110th minute. Then Bruno Fernandes scored a penalty to make it 4-3. And then Kobe Manu scored in the 120th minute to make it 4 each. And then Harry Maguire scored in the 121st minute, and Man United won 5-4, 7-6 on aggregate.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But it's I
thought I'd mention that. So it's Man United versus Bilbao in the semi-final of the Europa League.
Game of two half, that one.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, going back to Man United has picked up probably a bit as well. But yeah, then again, looking back in the Man United game, Rangers were 2 seconds away, or a couple of seconds away from getting a vital 3 points at Old Trafford. But they
I think it was a point. It was one each, and then Bruno scored in the last minute.
Yeah. But I mean, Rangers put a lot into that game, you know.
Yeah, they did, and that was another kind of backs to the wall performance, but a tremendous finish from Cyril Dessers brought Rangers level, and you're thinking, all right, we've nicked a point. But then it was a bit of a poor defending. Jeffy, I think, dropping Bruno at the back post. Jeffy's shown that a couple of times this season. Poor defensive awareness. He's not aware of who's around him, and he lets people run off of him. But yeah, what was it? I've just kind of lost my point there. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Man United. But Jeffy, but I didn't think he was great, and then he improved a little bit. I think when Rangers switched to the 4, he was a bit more commanding in the air. Maybe he feels better playing at left back rather than wing back. But Jeffy's one as well, though. He's one for the future. He's 21 and he's experienced before Rangers was playing in Cyprus and Brazil youth teams. So, I think you need to give him time.
There we go. It's brilliant to see that people's got the sound down and watching us because we're more important than TNT. Paul Donaldson says, I'm watching a Lazio Bogo Grimp penalty shootout. So keep us up to date in that one. And Hatfield Scumber says, well, there's always next year. I think I know what he's talking about in that one actually. Basically you could say that's the season over for Rangers, but I mean obviously they've got 6 games left to go and flow in the Glasgow derby, and I think all the Rangers fans will be looking at a game at Ibrox against Celtic as well, because even though Celtic won the league, but you always want to beat your rivals, and that's what they'll be looking at.
Yeah, you never want to get beat by your rivals, no matter what the circumstances are. Even if it's meaningless in the league, you still don't want that message from your Celtic or Rangers supported mate, giving you grief. So you want to win. I think an interesting thing will be when Rangers play Celtic at Ibrox. Celtic probably will be champions. So I think there's a debate going around that will Rangers give Celtic a guard of honour at Ibrox? I don't know.
I think that always happens as well, and I think the answer would be no there. I mean, if Celtic were playing kind of like, say, Dundee or any other team, then you would say, yeah, but because I remember it happened last season, and Rangers came to, I think it was Celtic Park after the split, and Celtic won the league, and but I mean, you always got to have that debate of like Rangers. Well, if Rangers were going to win the league, Celtic would do it, and vice versa. It's just this wonderful city that we live in, Alex. It's called the Goldfish Bowl.
Yeah, it's just pettiness all the way around. Just like the away supporters. I think Paul saying there, why shouldn't Rangers and Celtic do it? I don't see a reason why they shouldn't, Paul, but they won't, because it's a bit of a rivalry and they're petty even through the boardrooms. They'll get involved. We've seen it with the fans not getting let in, and only recently has there been fans allowed back into the stadiums because of the club's inability to come to agreements with each other. So Paul, I agree with you. They should do it, but like Michael said, it's just the wonderful city where we are.
Yeah, no, and so how obviously, I'll be a bit different. Ibrox, when is that? 2 weeks' time or something? When Rangers play Celtic, and the Celtic fans will be allowed back in.
Yeah, I think it's 5% capacity, so I think around 2,500. So Paul giving us an update on the Bodo game there. If Lazio missed, they're out. So could we have a Bodo Glimt Tottenham semi-final? If Bodo Glimt win the Europa League, that would be fantastic. I've got a bit sidetracked there, but if Rangers couldn't win it, I'd want Bodo Glimt to win it because they're the new underdogs.
Bodo Glimt, I think I remember they not beat Celtic a few seasons ago, or did Celtic beat them? I can't
Bodo
remember.
Glimt beat Celtic in the Europa Conference League because that was the season where you could still drop out of a. So I think Celtic finished third in their Europa League group. Celtic finished third, and then they dropped into the Conference League, and then Bodo Glimt pretty handily beat them, and everyone was like, "What the heck?"
And the away game, I remember now.
So where have these guys come from? So, and they've kind of been on the rise since, and on the verge of going to a Europa League semi-final to play Tottenham. So good on them.
I'm actually good laughing. Me and Alex would go away and Paul should take over the show because he's actually giving us a wee commentary in the background. I can actually hear his voice and kicking the TV or kicking, well, whatever, the cat or whatever in the house. Like Lazio scored if Bodo Glimt scored there through, and he says, he says, he puts it over the bar.
Wow.
And it's a Bodo Glimt player. I don't know how to do an impression of a Bodo Glimt commentator, so I'll just say it in a Glaswegian voice. But Bodo Glimt player must have put the ball 10 yards over the bar. Paul, guess what? Sign him up for the Scotland rugby team because we need a decent kick at the moment because we are quite poor in the rugby field as well. So keep us up to date with that, Paul. On for another 5 minutes. So I'm surely that the penalty shootout will be finished then, Alex, before we go off it.
I think Paul's a bit behind because I've just seen. I think Bodo Glimt have went through. So it's Bodo Glimt versus Tottenham and Man United versus Bilbao. Paul giving us the update now. Bodo Glimt through. So we've got our final four for the Europa League. Interesting games all round. I think I don't know. I think it might end up being an all British final. To be honest, I don't know. I feel like Man United will be able to beat Bilbao just if they play to the way they can, which they haven't done so many times this season. And I think Tottenham will get over the line because Europe, much like Rangers, Europe seems to be the only competition these two have performed in this season. Obviously,
sorry,
that's all right. I'm just saying, obviously, they're having dreadful league seasons.
And I think Alan McCoy said in commentary that he fancies Tottenham to win, and I think if they win the competition, that will save Ange's job.
Yeah, I think so. I think Ange he's not done himself any favours, I think, with the way he's handled himself in the press. However, I think some of the criticism has been a bit unfair if you actually look into Tottenham's season. Their injuries have been disastrous, just decimating the squad. But I think the way he's handled himself in the press has made him a target. You know, I always win trophies in my second season, kind of thing. And that thing the other day when he was talking about, You know, if a guy waves a phone in my face, I'm gonna hit it or something like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I did
He's
see that. Yeah.
he's not done himself any favors, but I definitely, yeah. But if they win the Europa League, it will save his job. But I think he has perhaps received a bit of unfair treatment.
Rangers are obviously not getting the game this weekend because they're out of the Scottish Cup. But do you think it's a good thing for Rangers not to play this weekend? Obviously, because they put a lot into that game tonight, and
No,
also no.
so I was just saying no because there isn't anything left to play for. So I'd rather be in the Scottish Cup semi final and have something to look forward to after a disappointing loss. But you know, you know, if you don't beat what's in front of you, you won't be able to progress. And the Rangers didn't do that against Queens Park.
Yeah, no. Season is over. We've got a comment on the YouTube and going by your handle, you're a Rangers fan. So yeah, thanks for watching and come back tomorrow because we'll be back on tomorrow as well. So I did ask you this earlier on in the show, Alex, but how would you sum up Rangers European campaign overall?
Overall, I'd say it was a successful campaign. No, I didn't expect Rangers to get to the quarterfinals. You know, the first iteration of the league phase, they progressed through in the top 8 with some big results along the way. And you know, they obviously beaten Fenerbahce, and the special one was a big moment for Rangers, and yeah, and they put in a spirited two-legged display, but in the end they were beaten by the better side. So overall, I'd say you could be proud if you're a Rangers supporter. Be proud of the effort and the run they've gone on, although it's disappointing.
There you go. Thank just disappointing end. I think enjoy covering the European campaign for Celtic, Rangers, and Hearts. Believe it or not, in European football, and hopefully we'll be doing it all again next season as well. Got to say a couple of things before we finish. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock for the Scottish Cup semi-final preview, and then we'll be on all weekend, so you'll be sick of looking at my face by Monday. We'll be on Saturday at 11:30 to preview the Aberdeen Hearts game, and then after the game you'll back on at 2:30 for the Johnson Celtic game on Sunday. We'll be on at 2 o'clock, and after the game on at 5 o'clock as well. So a busy time. And I think we've got a show coming up next week, next Tuesday night, looking at accessibility for football fans getting into football grounds. So that should be interesting indeed. So thanks to Alex for joining us on the show tonight, and thanks to all your comments. As always, keep them coming. We'll be back tomorrow live at 5 o'clock. And also, one more comment. There we go. Bye for now. We'll miss tomorrow's show. Looking forward to Hampden on Saturday. There you go. That's one thing about the show, Alex. People will say, oh, they miss the show. I feel like a headmaster, like, why are you not watching the show? You know, send us an email to tell why you're not watching it. So thanks for watching. Thanks to Alex tonight for our contributions, and we will see you back here live at 5 tomorrow night for the weekend preview of the Scottish Cup. So I finished Atletico Bilbao 2, Rangers now, and obviously Bilbao won 2-0 on aggregate.
all the build-up and reaction to Rangers in the Europa League on Independence Live.